Last year was a year of exploration. Last year was a year of discovery. Last year was a year of quick thinking and quick decisions, where it seems like opportunities were presented to us and boom, bam, we had to act on it fast. This year is kind of like the pendulum is swinging the other way. Imagine, if you will, we're all on a journey. We're all on a journey like the children of Israel in the wilderness for 40 years. We're in this wilderness. We're in this desert wasteland. We're in the mountains. We're in the forests. We're together on this camping expedition, so to speak. And Yeshua is our guide. Yeshua is the leader, the head of the camp. He's the guy who's heading the expedition, who's leading the way. And last year, we set camp. And he said, go and explore. Don't go so far that you can't hear my voice when I call to you to come back. So go, explore. So we all kind of scattered. We went off onto our own little paths, just enjoying the scenery, enjoying the walk, enjoying the hike, enjoying the journey. We found nice little rabbit trails to go down and little paths that looked mysterious and obscure. Oh, let's see what's down this way. And we just kind of explored on our own without any worry or out any care in the world. And some of us went down Talmudic rabbit trails. Some of us went down Kabbalistic, mystical paths in the woods. Others of us went pseudepigraphal or apocryphal paths. Others went philosophical paths. Sadly, some even went down some anti-missionary paths, some orthodox paths. There's so many different paths within the realm of religiosity and the realm of Judaism. And many people took these different paths and were discovering great new things. And that's great. But as Alice in Wonderland, how far does the rabbit hole go? How far are you going to follow a path? How far are you going to take it down? There comes a certain point when you're traveling and you feel safe going down kind of like a scenic route. And you're like, yeah, I can find my way back. I know my way back. But then there comes a certain point that says, you know what, if I go beyond this point, I won't be able to find my way back. If I go beyond this point, I'm going to have to follow this to the end because I'll be lost. And so as we were going down our respective paths, all of a sudden, we hear the voice of the shepherd. We hear the voice of Yeshua. We hear the sound of the shofar calling us back to camp. Yeshua is calling us back home. And sometimes we're walking and, we hear something and we're like, it's not the crunch of the leaves or the snap of a twig under my feet, but I hear something. No, it's not a wild animal. It's not the wind rustling through the... What is that? Oh, it's very faint. Wait, I recognize that voice. That's the voice of the Master. That's Yeshua. He's calling me to come back. And some of us were so far down that trail, we had to stop. We had to listen. We had to be quiet to make sure we actually heard what we heard. And that was the furthest of the limits of the path that we could travel without totally losing the voice of Yeshua. Some of us didn't travel too far from camp at all. And he called and they were the first ones to come running. Others, sadly, went beyond that point. They were so focused and so determined on following a certain path to the end that they blocked out visually everything else in their path. They blocked out auditorily everything in their path. And Yeshua was calling and calling and calling, and they didn't hear. And they kept traveling down the path. And unfortunately, some of them discovered where it led. The anti-missionary path led to a trail 7 times worse than the trail they were on as sinners. Some followed down the Orthodox trail, and the sound of the shepherd Yeshua sounded like some stranger to them, and they no longer heard or recognized the voice of Yeshua. So many have gotten lost on these paths and on these trails. But for those of us who can hear, for those who have ears, let him hear, as Yeshua our Master said. He's calling us back to camp. He's calling us back to base camp. He's going to discuss with each and every one of us this year individually, what have you learned? What did you discover on that path, on that trail, all alone? The trail you chose to go down, what did you learn? What can you bring back to the camp? What profitable can you bring back to the camp? What can you bring back, so to speak, as a spy spying out the land that will help the rest of your brothers and sisters on this journey that we're on to the land of promise, which I'm leading? What can you bring back to the table for us? And he's going to discuss these things with us. And of course, Yeshua, being an emanation of Elohim himself, he knew exactly where we were. He knew exactly what trail we decided to take and go down. He was with us. He had a bird's eye view. He saw what we saw. He heard what we heard. He knows what we know. He just wants us to bring it out and tell him so that we will recognize the things that we learned. And then he will point out the things. You know what? This little trail you took wasn't so good, and here's why. You remember seeing this on the trail. Let me explain that to you because I know it confused you. Or this is something that you should stay away from. Or this is something that you should have pursued more. This is something you shouldn't have been afraid of. And this is something that you should have feared. Yeshua is going to take us back into himself this year. And we are going to be secluded in a camp of retreat this year. It's going to be like a boot camp. Last year, we were all Marthas. We were running around doing things for the Lord. Running around. This year, we're going to be Marys. We're going to be Miriam. We're going to be the ones that are going to choose the better path, and we're going to sit at the feet of Yeshua. There's some that are still lost out in the woods, whom Yeshua is called to, but they no longer recognize his voice. They're just so far down the trail, they can't hear his voice anymore. They're not going to be at rest. They're going to be in tumultuous upheaval this next year. And you know what? For those who are still on the trail and haven't come home yet, come home. Because Yom Kippurim is coming soon. And that's when the books are going to be sealed for the year. And those who are destined to be lost on the trail will be lost. Those who are destined to come home will come home. Though your fate is going to be sealed. So please, come back home. It's going to be a year of restoration. It's going to be a year of boot camp. It's going to be a year of back to the basics. All these things that we learned in Sunday school as Christians before we became Messianic or Netzarim, we're going to relearn, but we're going to learn and see it through Jewish eyes this time. We're going to learn deeply the words of Yeshua HaMashiach himself. Other sects of Judaism have their Rebbes. The Breslovers have Rebbe Nachman. The Lubavitchers or the Chabad have Rabbi Schneerson. We have Rebbe Yeshua. It's his red letters, his words we need to focus on. It's his halakha and his teachings that we need to unlock. And what are the keys to the lock of Yeshua's teaching? It's the Torah. And we've spent the year exploring Torah and other things. And we have the tools and we have the things that we need to sit and look at Yeshua's teachings and unlock them and see them through Jewish eyes and understand them and interpret them through the words of Torah, which is the foundation of what Yeshua taught and said and lived. Either you're going to be more solid, rooted, and grounded and firm in the path of Torah in Messiah's footsteps, or you're not. That's what this year is all about. It's going to be separating the men from the boys, the wheat from the chaff, the wheat from the tares. It's going to be separating the clean fish from the unclean fish, the sheep from the goats. And it's your decision if you're going to be a sheep or a goat. It's your decision if you're going to be a clean fish or an unclean fish. It's your decision if you're going to be a wheat or a tare. He's calling you. You heard the sound of the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. He's called on Yom Torah. He's called us back home. And we've been traveling these 10 days of awe back to camp, back to base camp, back to Yeshua, back to the shepherd, back to the Rebbe, back to the master. And on Yom Kippurim, we will bow at his feet and cast our crowns at his feet. And he will open unto us in this new year things that we have never seen or heard or learned before. Things that we've read over and thought we knew what they meant. But then we'll realize, hey, we were only scratching the surface. We didn't know squat. And if you keep if you have a humble heart and you've forgiven your fellow man, then Hashem will be able to forgive you. And then your heart and your spirit will be open to what He has to say to you this year. This year is almost a spiritual sabbatical year in a way. We're going to still work, but we're going to be at rest in Him, rest in His study, because we're going to be so close by His side. Last year we were out on these other trails, traveling and learning and discovering. Now we're back with Him, and He's going to take us down some of these trails that we went down, and He's going to show us things that we didn't see the first time. He's going to explain to us things. He's going to walk beside us and teach us, and it's going to be a personal and intimate time with the Messiah this year. So I hope you look forward to this year, this Hebraic year of 5772. Thanks for watching. Shalom and Shavua Tov.